Deadlock's had an incredible 2025 year. We've had many new heroes that have been added to the cast. We've had a full item shop rework. The visuals of the game look much better. You know, we went from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. It's actually kind of insane to think about how many things have changed this year. But what do we want out of Deadlock in 2026? Right? Like, what things could be improved? What things are going to be necessary for the game to succeed? That's what we're going to discuss today. rkryptic, are you excited?
I am, man. Talking about the wish list for 2026, dude. It's always a good time. Like you said, 2025, a pretty incredible year for Deadlock. So, I imagine 2026, it's only going to be up from here. Hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed,
Yep.
at this point, I don't think Valve is planning on just dropping the game at any point. It seems like they're all in. The game has a pretty big player base already for being a closed game. So
Yep.
yeah, it's I'm optimistic. We'll say that.
Well, if Valve dropped the game, I would be very, very surprised. I mean, you never know. You never know what could happen, but I think that it's very unlikely. But as far as like what we want from 2026, I think it's a very interesting topic because I think so many people have so many different like things that they want. For example, like the most common one that I hear is draft, right?
Yeah.
And it's always I think that there's two types of people. I think there's the types of people that play this game like every single day or like very often, like myself, that want things that it's hard for them to not want things that make the game like, more like competitively playable right now, right? And like, also the competitive players who are like, okay, we need draft, we need this, blah, 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 right? And then there's the people, the outsiders that maybe don't play Deadlock much or have played Deadlock a little bit, but are waiting for the kind of big things in order to play the game. And so, we're talking like player retention tools, right? We're talking like events, we're talking perhaps different game modes, we're talking an arcade, perhaps like like so many different possibilities. And those two things like don't really go together.
They
Like
don't mesh.
it's hard to know which. Yeah, exactly, because on one hand it's like, okay, well, the developers would have to give like a lot of development time to these things, which would take away from doing things like draft, for example, or like reworking the ranked system, etc. So what do you think they should prioritize?
So I think like what I think they should prioritize is maybe different from like what I want personally. Like my
Mhm.
number one thing is I want open beta. Right? Like that's like my number one thing in 2026 is I want them to like announce Deadlock like officially, like a trailer, a release date, and be like, boom, this game's coming to Steam on this day, like as open beta. That's like top of my list. In terms of what I think they should prioritize, it's a lot of other stuff first. So
Right.
it's the order is a little bit different, but I do agree. I think draft is definitely up there for a lot of people who are playing. Getting like
Hmm.
comp
Hmm.
diffed in a pub never feels good. They've done a lot behind the
Hmm.
scenes in matchmaking to try and help with that, where they're like, all right, we're going to try and categorize some heroes as like a frontline
Yeah.
or a damage dealer, and like try and at least balance comps so that like you don't just have six carries versus like Abrams Lash Warden, like Yamato, like those are just like the worst games. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think draft is up there for sure for me. I don't know. Like, what is your like top? What is your personal top of the list? Thing that you would want, not
Hmm.
necessarily, what you think they should work on first. Because we can kind of go back and forth like through each of the,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
you know,
I mean, obviously, like from a very selfish perspective, I think everybody that plays this game a lot wants open beta, and
yeah,
obviously myself even more than the average person because my entire career is Deadlock. So
yeah,
from a very selfish perspective, it would be great for me if Deadlock went open beta. But I've already been doing Deadlock content creation full time for 16 months at this point or something crazy.
yeah.
So like, I don't mind waiting another 12 months or whatever. Like, if they want to take another year or like if open beta is not until 2027, I'm fine with that. Now, if it was further than 2027, I mean, at that point, for me, it's not a big deal because at the end of the day, I can always just go back to work. That's the way I see it. I'm like, hey, if the game takes too long or whatever, and I like it's not viable anymore, I'm just gonna go back to work and be thankful for the opportunity that I got either way. And then maybe when it releases, I'll come back. But
Nice.
regardless, open beta would be awesome. I guess I can have it on my wish list. The one thing that I don't want though is I don't want for it to be rushed, right?
Yes.
And so the way that I think about it in my wish list when I was preparing for this episode was rather than thinking of it, okay, obviously everyone wants open beta, but what is needed for open beta to happen,
Totally different
right?
discussion, right? Totally
Yeah.
different. Yeah, I
So
agree.
I have a couple things, and you have a couple things too as well. So I guess I can start with my main points for what is open beta required. But okay, so first thing for me is from an art perspective, everything that's placeholder needs to be like changed,
Yeah.
right? And so right now, like the bases feel pretty placeholders. Like pretty much every structure feels pretty placeholder. Like I don't really feel as though like the Guardians or Walkers or whatever really feel like a part of Deadlock universe.
Mhm.
They kind of feel like they were just put there, and we know this because they haven't been changed like at all, since the beginning, basically. And obviously, a lot of the art has been changed, and so the art direction has kind of taken a turn. And the same goes for any neutral as well, like mid boss. Kind of, I mean, mid boss is like kind of in like a sewer, you could say, so like
Yeah.
fits a little bit. Maybe. I'd love to see a big rat. I'm on team rat.
Dude,
With
rat
like the cheese.
ideas. Rat gang is a good one. I like that one.
So that'd be funny. But on a more serious note, all the neutrals like in the jungle are just like they're all the same weird little creatures with no diversity, no abilities, no nothing. Like the jungle is very, very boring, and it's also bland to look at. So all of that needs to be changed before open beta, in my opinion.
Yep. It's funny you said that because one of my top things on my wish list was like I called it a functional jungle.
Yeah.
Basically like what you expect from other games when you're like going into a jungle is like you said, creep variety. Like they move. Like having creeps that actually aggro and have like an aggro radius that you have to like play around and stuff
Mm.
like that. I think it would make the jungle a lot more engaging and a lot more fun. I don't
Hmm.
necessarily think that we need like jungle buffs like you see in some of those other games. Like I think that's just adding an obnoxious layer. But having a jungle with updated models, textures, and abilities, and making it a little bit more interactive experience would be fun. I think that's kind of like necessary. But like you said,
Yeah.
all the placeholder stuff when it comes to heroes, even like we have a lot of really good looking
Oh
heroes.
yeah.
We have a couple like, okay, they're
We
almost
have
there
Yamato.
heroes. And then we have the like, all right, this is very placeholder hero, Sinclair
Yeah.
being a perfect example. Um, Hero's really, well made in terms of its spell kit, but it needs a model, you know? So yeah, I think
Yeah, I mean,
those are high on my list for
Sinclair
sure.
Yamato Viper, like Sinclair Yamato Viper are definitely some of the worst ones. Warden is like pretty old as well. I mean, there's a fair amount of heroes that definitely need remodels, and we know that they're going to remodel these heroes because they've already done that with a decent portion of the cast, right?
Yeah.
Like Lash, like Abrams, Geist, Wraith, like a bunch of heroes in the last one of the big patches got a bunch of remodels, and so it's very likely they're going to remodel like everything that is like super outdated. Like I think Yamato's probably the most anticipated one,
That's the one I
just
think I
because like
always see people talking about.
she's got the alien forehead thing going on, which I mean, no disrespect, but like it doesn't fit into the world at all.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny. Um, but yeah, they need to complete hero models. They need to have a jungle that I agree like looks better, like has different mechanics, etc. I think everybody wants that. And then there's the whole question of like matchmaking slash ranked system, which I know that you had in your wish list as well. But my perspective on this, I've had this perspective for quite some time actually, but I think currently in Deadlock, it's weird because there are no player retention tools other than the ranked system. Like when you
Mhm.
really think about it, the only player retention tool, and just to clarify what I mean for anybody in the audience, when I'm talking about a player retention tool, it's a tool in the game that makes you want to log in and keep playing, right? Some sort of something that gives you something to strive for. So for example, right now in the holiday event, you could qualify that as a player retention tool
Yep.
because hey, you have to win a game on every hero in order to get the snowballs and everything. So that's a player retention tool. But other than that, right, the only technically reason to log in is to rank up. Like
Yep.
you don't get any other type of rewards. You don't level up. You don't have any chance to gain cosmetics. There's no battle pass. There's no achievement system. There's nothing. But the ranked system is also like the number one cause of frustration because it's kind of a half-baked ranked system, and there's no ranked or casual. There's like all the games are the same, right? And right now, and we're gonna get into that in the Reddit complaint section a little bit later, but people are complaining that they're losing games a lot because, and I've felt it as well. The games are very coin flippy because everyone's on heroes that they have like very little games on, if any. And so they're first timing heroes in these games, and it's kind of like making the games very, very random. But there's no unranked to do it in, so it
Yeah.
affects your rank either way.
Yeah, and that's the thing where I was thinking of like not necessarily like a ranked versus unranked, but more of a casual mode. Like I'd want them to keep the matchmaker that they have in place currently, but introducing something like turbo mode, which anyone who's I know not everyone's familiar with Dota, but turbo is essentially just a faster, less like serious game essentially. Like you gain gold and
Hmm.
experience
Right.
faster, you
Hmm.
don't get punished as much when you die. Like there's just like mechanics that make the game easier. And there's modes like this in every different type of MOBA that are that exist to try and like make it a little bit friendlier for new players to like learn the game and stuff. uh but I thought I lost you for a second. You went stone cold statue there. I was like, dang, did I lose him? No, but
No.
it's like something along those lines would be nice for not only like new players, but also for events like this,
Hmm.
where it's like, oh, I don't want to like tank my rating or my rank, doing 30 games on new heroes I've never played, but I could go into turbo and maybe like try them out and see how it goes, type of thing. Um, but I don't know. Like that's like one of the things that's like very low on my wish list. Like that's extremely low on my wish list. I
Sure.
don't think it's like essential to even have something like that in place for like an open beta, but it was, if I get to say like what I want for 2026 and it's like I get all these things, I'm like that's on my list. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, I think that's completely reasonable, and I think that a lot of people kind of want something like that. I think Deadlock has a lot of potential with an arcade mode.
Yeah.
Once again, for those of you that aren't, familiar with Dota, and Dota, there's an arcade which people can use, kind of like the Dota, bones, you could say, right? Like the structure of Dota to then make their own games in. And those games, famously, like probably the most famous one is Auto Chess. Like Dota Auto Chess would probably be the one that like really created a whole genre
Yeah,
of
team fight
auto
tactics
battlers.
came out of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like for those of you that don't know, it started as just an arcade game mode in Dota. I played the original. It was really fun, but it was kind of like goofy and stuff. Like it wasn't like a super polished game, but it was fun. It was goofy. And then people saw a lot of potential in it. So, Dota Underlords came out of it, Teamfight Tactics came out of it, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other auto battlers that took inspiration from it. So I think that Deadlock has incredible like bones, so to speak. Like the structure of Deadlock is so fun, the movement is so fun, the shooting feels great, it feels reactive, etc. That if you were able to just create your own game modes, I think that'd be really fun. Like I think doing like like a Lash Instagib like game mode where everybody's just grappling around and one-shotting each other and instant respawn, that could be
Yeah.
fun. Like I'd be down to play that for like 30 minutes or something, like every other day, just to like good old custom servers. So I think that would be in my wish list, but I don't think it's realistic to expect that for 2026 because it's such a low priority thing. So like that's a personal wish, but for the health of the game, I understand that the developers are going to be putting all of their resources into things that are going to make the game progress meaningfully, like one thing we haven't talked about yet, which is new heroes.
Ooh, that was one of my things that I want to talk about as well. Yeah, new heroes. I thought the game was like when they released these last set of heroes, I was like, all right, we have enough heroes in my mind to like implement a draft system and start like working with it. I thought this was like 30 was kind of the baseline that was necessary. So I actually don't know if we need a ton of heroes like added in 2026. I think at this point, like we're at 32, so anywhere like 30, anywhere from 35 to 40, and I'm like, yeah, we have enough. Like that's a good amount of heroes for anyone who's picking up the game for the first time to not be like overwhelmed. And I think that's a really big thing as well. Like you don't want someone to come into a game like Deadlock and be like, there's 80 heroes to choose from and I don't know what to do, right? Like like that is too much. So I think there is a fine
Yeah.
balance of like maintaining a really well polished hero roster without bloating it with a bunch of nonsense. So I don't want them to add a ton, but
Mm.
I'm down for a few more for sure.
Yeah, I've kind of always said I think open beta would work between 40 to 50 heroes.
Okay.
I think that the amount of heroes we have right now is a little low, especially if you are to add draft. Like if you watch, competitive play, like you can see the drafts very often are kind of samey, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a very, like, it's not fully stale, but there's kind of like a meta, right, where it's very like you can easily kind of predict the picks. Um, and obviously, like, we're not going to get to like 130 heroes quickly. I mean, maybe eventually we'll get to such a high number, but I think that those things can come as the game kind of grows through the years once it's released. But for open beta, I think 40 to 50 is a good number to shoot at, so to speak. And so I think in 2025 we had, I believe it was a total of was it 12 heroes that were added?
Yeah, I think we had 24 heroes.
Oh, so
Or
is it
20
8?
heroes. It might have been 20
Because no,
heroes.
I'm thinking. Oh, sorry, 10 were added. We
Yeah,
had
yeah.
22
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was Sinclair Calico. So it was Sinclair Calico, Viper, Holiday, and then the 6 new. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to name all of them, but anyway, there was 10 total heroes that were added in 2025. Um, so yeah, I think if they keep the same pace for 2026 and they just had 10 new heroes as well, that would put us at 42 heroes. And I think 42 heroes would be a pretty decent number to go open beta with. Like, I don't think it's a ton, but it's enough to have enough gameplay diversity for everybody to kind of find a hero that matches, their vibe, so to speak. Like, for example, for me, like, I don't really like just shooting my gun, right? So the heroes that like just shoot their gun don't really speak to me, but there's enough of those to speak to the shooter players, right? There's enough, like, we need enough like utility and support heroes to speak to the players who just want to play utility and support, and we need enough like kind of like mage type heroes to speak to those who want to play a more like mage type game.
Yeah. And I think we've been trending in that way where the hero diversity is getting a lot further away from like just a shoot
Hmm.
hero or just a spellcaster. Like they're finding ways to
Yeah.
add a lot of utility to hero kits. And I think Paige was really like the first hero where I was like, okay, nice. They're definitely like prioritizing creating a support oriented hero. Granted,
Hmm.
people still found a way to make her a gun hero, as obnoxious as that was, but yeah, it at least proves that they have like archetypes in place that they want to strive for without like, you know, diluting the existing pool of like, oh, this is basically just this hero with this spell, but like slightly different. Like each hero does feel very unique in how they play, and I think
Yeah.
that's really important, and that's one of the things that I will give Valve credit for, better than any other developer, is that like there is so much kind of like individuality and
Hmm.
like passion behind each character that they make, that it's the theme is very important to them, and they do a really good job at making each hero feel unique instead of it being like, oh, this is just like every other melee like initiator, every other melee tank.
Yeah.
So I do think they have a good track record of that with their games previously, and so far trending that way in Deadlock as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Valve is like no other. And one thing that I will give credit to Valve, which has kind of hurt the game in some aspects and kind of not, it's a very complicated and nuanced topic, but Valve does not apply rules. They give you a framework to play within. Actually, like, the way that Lightbringer was talking about it with me as well, and I mean, we both agree on this topic, is that, for example, like Dota feels more like a sandbox,
Hmm.
whereas League, you're kind of like told what to do.
Yes.
you know and in Deadlock it's kind of the same thing. In Deadlock you're not really told what to do. So for example, we'll talk about the rotations and the laning stage maybe a little bit later, but right now you're not really told what to do in the laning stage. You're given a framework to work with, and you're like, hey, we're not going to punish you that much if you want to decide to gank early a bunch. That's kind of up to you. If you make it work, good for you. But from a soul perspective, we're not going to punish you that much because, hey, we wanted you to experiment with that. From a hero perspective, a lot of the heroes that they designed early on were generalists. Okay. There's a
Yes.
huge difference if you look between like the V1 heroes, which I would consider pretty much every hero except the last 6 to be in. I would consider them in like like Gen 1 heroes, basically, like the initial heroes. Dota actually has a very, very similar pattern,
Totally.
but regardless, like the Gen 1 heroes were all like generalists. Like they had an identity, but it wasn't that strong. But if you look at the Gen 2 heroes, like the 6 new heroes, they have a very strong identity. Like they clearly want Paige to be a support, right? Like there's no doubt about it. Whereas like if you look at a hero like Ivy, well, it's like, well, I mean, Ivy can be a support, but she can also be a gun hero, or maybe she can do spirit damage, or she can kind of do it all.
Yeah.
And if you look at a hero like Victor, okay, it's like Victor is clearly a spirit frontliner, right? Clearly like a drain tank type.
Yeah.
Doorman is clearly intended
Broken.
to be a utility hero. I mean, he's broken, yes, but he's clearly intended to be a utility hero.
Yeah,
Very clearly in this kit, right? Like every single new hero has a very clear kind of purpose in the game. Whereas if you look at a hero like Shiv, it's just like, oh, he just kind of he's just a guy. He
He's
just kills you.
just a cool guy, just a cool guy running around with his
So
jacket over his shoulder. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't really thought about the differences between like what you would consider like a Gen 1 versus Gen 2 hero, but yeah, it's very much something that just happens in development of a game where, they had to get a bunch of heroes out to start testing with, and they've tweaked a lot of
yeah,
them for sure, like in
yeah.
making them a little bit more specific to what they have an idea of the hero, but it's very true where like the newest heroes are intended for a specific archetype, which is cool.
Yeah, it's like for example, Mina, you literally like you can't build her gun. Like it's just not like from a numbers perspective, it's just not possible to build her gun. Like her gun is terrible because she's intended to do spirit damage only, right?
Yep.
And one thing that I'd love to see is I think it's good to have generalist heroes,
Yeah,
and I think it's good to
absolutely.
have specialist heroes. I think it's good to have both. But right now we just have like every hero is a generalist almost, and so I think that really they just need to focus on more specialist heroes. With every hero that they kind of release should be like designed to have a specific purpose. And so there's two things that we don't really have much of in the game right now. Okay, and this is also part of like the spirit versus weapon meta, etc. One thing that we don't really have is any hero that like actually scales their ability through weapon. Really, like when you think about it, there's not really a single hero that does that. And another thing that we don't really have is a hero that scales their abilities through health. Don't really have that either. And so I'm thinking it would be a good idea to kind of like have heroes with like very strict identities that are like, hey, I scale my damage through weapon, and hey, I scale whatever through HP. Like I am rewarded for building more HP, or like in some way. I think it's an interesting idea to explore. Like maybe it'd be like bad, or maybe it'd be hard to balance. I don't truly know, but it's something that we don't really have in the game right now. Whereas like almost every ability just scales off of spirit, and that's pretty much it, right? Like there's melee abilities that do scale off melee, but other than that, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a single weapon damage ability in the game other than the melee ones.
Yeah, it's just the melee ones, right? Like Viscous and Drifter, that come to mind specifically, but
Yeah,
they
and
don't.
Billy.
Yeah, and Billy. Yeah, there you go. It's like I was specifically thinking about it. It's like Drifter technically gets like damage scaling off of his third, but it's not. It's like it's inverse. It's not like your weapon damage
It's also
affects.
just damage amp though.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
like
sorry. You mean like the stacks, right? That he gets. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's true.
It's not like your weapon damage increases the damage of that ability. It's like that ability increases your weapon damage, right? It's very different in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how it works. So I think yeah, it is a cool thing to explore. I really like the idea of max HP scaling for like tank heroes. I think it's like a really unique thing, and I think having like a hero that can somehow be I mean it has to be balanced, but be a hero that can definitely frontline and do damage
Yeah.
based on his health would be very fun. Because there are heroes like that in other MOBAs, that exist,
Hmm.
and they're not super OP, they're not super broken, but it is like a fine line that you have to walk because it also requires you to
Yeah.
like balance all these items just for this hero, right? Because if one or two like health items get a little bit too strong, like this hero could just suddenly pop up as like top of the meta. So it becomes a little bit of a walking a fine line, but I think they can do
Hmm.
it. I think they can do it
Well, if it's any like not to say consolation, but the new vitality change kind of like helps already with that, right?
for sure.
Whereas having it as a flat HP that works the same for every hero kind of means all you need to balance about the hero is you need to balance the base HP and the HP gain of the hero rather than worry, okay, how much can they abuse the vitality shot? Because the only percent HP item left is Colossus.
Colossus, yeah.
That's really the only one you have to balance around, and it's a specialist item that's 6,400 anyway. So it's already like there's already like a decent requirement for it. But yeah, I would like the idea of them experimenting with that. But to kind of like wrap it up a little bit on the wish list topic, I would say for me, my top priorities would be more heroes, finished art. So like, I also don't really like the middle area right now. Like, I think that the middle of the
The
map was
middle
better
lane.
on the previous map.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the museum, for those of you that remember, which was the big structure in the middle
Oh
of the map on
god.
the 4 lane map, was just way better than what we have currently. I think the rest of the map is better, to be clear, and I think 3 lane is an like significant upgrade to 4 lane. But that area specifically, I don't like the new one. So that's yeah. So art in general, like models, like jungle, etc., would be kind of second on my list after new heroes, and then third on my list, which we haven't really talked about much, but it kind of goes would be I think the game just needs like at least another objective, like something additional to do that's not mid boss or walkers. Right now people just get baited into going for the walkers at times where they shouldn't, but like if you don't do anything either, you just like sit there and like basically the high level games are like, okay, you go for the walker, you die, they go for your walker, they die. Like sometimes in high level matchmaking it's literally just that. And or they force mid boss and like it's a coin flip
Yeah.
or whatever, but like there needs to be something else in the like 15 to 25 minute mark to do. Like before 15 minutes, the gameplay is like actually completely fine. I have no issues with the gameplay before 15 minutes personally right now. I think the meta is fine. Sinners are cool, like invading jungle, etc. But at 15 minutes, like the entire jungle is gone for the most part at a high
Yeah.
level. And then
It's
there's like
totally.
literally nothing to do.
And then you're like sitting there like, okay, well, I guess we could either gank, but most players are just like sitting back, kind of like safe catching waves. You know, it gets
Mm.
difficult. I mean, earn is the like quote unquote side objective, right? That exists in the game, but I also feel like
Yep.
earn is not. I mean, it's been in this format for a while. This form, I guess, for a while of how it works. I don't really like earn as an objective. I think like it is good to force fights, but I think something that would be like a little bit more interactive would be nice. Uh, I don't know. It just feels weird. Earn is a weird objective to me because there are certain heroes that are way too good at stalling or delaying earn,
Yeah.
and it just makes it a little bit like I don't
Well,
know.
Doorman and Viscous are just like, I mean, there's no other word to put it. They're kind of cringe around the urn, like
Yeah,
Doorman and Viscous is just like, Doorman just puts his door. It's like, good luck. Good luck delivering the, like, if he's on the Doorman team, he's going to deliver it super fast. If you're against Doorman, good luck delivering the urn because he's just going to put his door there. And from safety, he's just going to like have his own door. And when you go for it, he's going to open the door, cart you. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess you're not getting that. And even if you are getting it, he's going to be able to, like, his entire team can shoot you through the door the whole time
yeah,
from safety. And Viscous can delay you for like 30 seconds just by puddle punching you away. And there's no counterplay, by the way.
yep,
Like, the only counterplay is you can try to bait the puddle punch, but if the Viscous is just patient every time, you can't bait it, right? Because you have to stand for a few seconds to secure the urn. So I do agree with you that there's some problems with the urn. However, I'm glad that we have the urn because if we
I
didn't
am
have the urn,
too.
it would truly be hell.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree.
there's at least one objective, but it's every 5 minutes, and like it does give money, and they did buff it, so now it's actually a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we need another objective, regardless of that.
That might be my main thing then is if they can fix the few heroes that are, like you said, cringe with dealing with earn because certain like being on a team and you see like Doorman on the other team, you're like, I'm not even gonna bother running in. Like I'm not. Like it's gonna waste like 6 minutes of my time to try and capture this earn. Like it's not worth it. So yeah, that would be a cool fix. I like that. Another objective, I don't know what that would be, but I'd be down. Like I don't even know where you'd put it is the other thing too, because like the map is pretty fleshed out and like what it would be because you have like your bridges for your buffs, you have earn on each side, and you have mid boss in the middle. So it's I don't know where the objective would be,
Hmm.
but they can rework some areas of the map to fit something. I'm sure that'd be cool. I'd be down.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my personal idea is a very Dota inspired idea, to be fair,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's basically expand the outer map because people also say that the map is like too easy to traverse or whatever. So okay, I'm like expand the outer map. So like add like you know how right now you can already kind of see on the outer map, like there's like a fence on the side, or like on the train side there's like a little area or whatever. Like I would just expand that. So past the tier threes on the side, like basically make the map slightly bigger on the outside,
Okay.
and I would add an objective that is near your walker on your right side. On your
I know
right
what this
side, it
is
would
gonna
be
be.
kind of like past your walker. It would be like how there's the church. There's kind of the church area, so
Yeah,
to speak.
the church
It'd
and
be like
firehouse.
between the walker and the church. Yeah, exactly. It'd be like between the walker and that area. And then as far as the objective itself, I have a few ideas. Obviously, you could just go like a tormentor route,
Yeah.
which would work, probably. Another idea that I had would be kind of like, well, I mean, you could just go like temporary buffs, like hey, it gives you like, you could also just go, hey, it gives golden statues to your entire team, it gives money. One idea that I had is it allows you to like buff a specific item that you have. That would be kind of goofy. Um, but like, I don't know, like it allows you, hey, like you can buff an item or an ability or something for like a period of time. I don't know. There's plenty of ideas. I would love to see them experiment with it at
Yeah.
least. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll see. But that's like my idea at the moment.
Yeah, the second you were like, yeah, put it in this area of the map, I was like, ah, yes, Tormentor. I remember, like that's
Yeah,
where this used to be, and it'd be kind of an
they
interesting
could do that.
idea. It could be like a giant jungle creep, that is just one big boy that is difficult to kill, that takes the team or something, that rewards you with, like you said, whatever. It could be a specific item. It could be like one rejuve. It could be, there's a
Yeah,
whole bunch of things you could do with it. So,
they could also just introduce the banner. Or like it could also be
oh,
like similar to
huge.
League where it could also be similar to League where you just get a big guy that pushes down a lane or whatever. I forget what that
The
guy's called in
Rift
League.
Herald,
Maybe
Rift
Rift Herald.
Guardian.
I don't know. I have like 100 hours in League.
Yeah, I don't know.
Please don't cancel me in the comments.
I played it like I played for like a week or something after they introduced it, and I had no
Yeah.
idea what it was called.
But that could be an idea, right? Like something that buffs your minions and allows you to like push walkers more safely. I mean, really, realistically, right now, you just need something that, you can at least try to trade for mid boss. That's not of equal value to mid boss because obviously, like that would be too
Too good.
broken.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like mid boss would be like meaningless if you could trade something that's equal value, but at least gives you a little something, right? Currently, that's walkers, but if there's not a walker easily like tradable or whatever, there's like literally like nothing to do. And the problem is mid boss in the middle of the map as well,
Yeah.
which makes it hard. So these objectives have to be like, that's
Spread
why I'm
out.
like make the map bigger and like make them on the corners of the map so that the team that's at mid boss can't easily punish you after. Um, and then you could decide like to make the objective have like a safe retreat or something where it gives you like a little subway that takes you back to base, League style. That could be. I mean, there's plenty of things to experiment. Really, I have no idea what's actually good, but I definitely think they need a new objective in 2026.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't think we have too much. I mean, we've been talking about our wish list
Yep.
for 2026. It could literally go on forever. There's so much stuff that we could talk about. But you did
Yeah.
mention it earlier about something that maybe Reddit and the community has been complaining out a little bit, which is the fact that
Mm.
we'll just, I guess, move on to the Reddit complaints section, because
Yep.
people are upset. They're doing the holiday event, which they're like, okay, I'm trying new heroes, I'm getting ornaments, it's cool. But then I've been seeing screenshots of people being like, my MMR is an absolute free fall. I have gone from ascendant to like ritualist in the matter of 1 week, which it's funny, but it also like I have sympathy for them. I'm like, that might not have been the intended outcome, but what do you have to say to those players? Is this like a skilled issue, or is this a you're doing it to yourself type of thing?
Um, there's a couple things. So first of all, I completely understand the frustration. I mean, I've been
Yeah,
victim to that frustration myself. I think everyone has, in the sense that it's like, hey, the games right now feel a little bit random, which is like, okay, who kind of gets the most, goofy Christmas guys on their team that are playing on heroes that they've never played before or have like two
yeah,
games. So I fully get the frustration. Now, I do think that we should just kind of, my personal opinion on this is that, you know, they could have disabled rank during the event. Like in retrospect, that may have actually been a good idea,
Yeah.
to just like disable ranked during the event. Um, but regardless, I honestly think ranked should go anyway. I don't think ranked is actually contributing anything. The only reason I think they've kept ranked in is because it's the only like it's the
Retention
only
system
reason
that
why
you said.
people, yeah, exactly. It's the only reason why people will like feel motivated to log on again and like, okay, I got to rank up, I got to improve, etc. Whereas if you have no rank, you don't really like, it's very intangible, right? Your improvement, you're not really sure if you're improving or not because you don't know if you're playing against better players or not. So with ranked, at least you know, okay, I'm playing against better players. So
Hmm.
I understand why they've kept it. I do think it causes some harm to the game, but regardless, I do understand why. And of course, this might sound weird because I benefit a lot from ranked being in the game because I'm an educational content creator, and having a ranked system, incentivizes people to improve, and so it benefits me. So I shouldn't want them to remove it, but I still think that it's kind of like, I don't know, in the current state that it's in, it just doesn't really feel like it does much other than frustrate people. um but yeah, with the Christmas event overall, what I would say is like, just don't take the games too seriously right now. And it's gonna suck if you're like playing if you don't want to do the Christmas challenge and you just play 2 heroes and you're just spamming those heroes still. It's gonna suck for you.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. Like the games are gonna be random if you take it too seriously. So just put on some music, relax, or avoid playing the game for a little bit. I mean, it's not a good, like, I understand people are like, I want to play my favorite game. Fully get it. I mean, I also want to play Deadlock, but just goof around a little bit. Like the games are not serious. The games are completely random, and just have fun with it. Try different builds, try different heroes. Like don't keep doing what you were doing before, because that's gonna frustrate you a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I've been part of the problem for sure. I've been queuing up with like my uh Death Slam League team. So we will queue up as
Yep.
6 and we just have every hero selected. We're like, all right, let's go. Like, and
Yeah.
once we clear a hero, we take it off. And so like the
Yeah.
games we go into, sometimes we're going against another 6 stack of people that are like playing seriously and like play their heroes, and we're on all off heroes and we get absolutely stomped in 15 minutes, or the next game is like an actual good game and we win, and it's you don't know, it is an actual, like you said, coin toss in a way. So um yeah, I'm enjoying it
Mhm.
though. It's still fun, like being able to try, like just getting your hands on a hero maybe you've only played a couple times is kind of refreshing every once in a while if you are like me and you're forced to play like the same 4 heroes every game.
Yeah.
So I can only play so
Mhm.
much, Seven and Infernus, bro. It's too much.
No, I mean, I feel you. I think that the idea of the challenge is great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Like if we just had an unranked mode, I think nobody would complain.
Yeah.
That's kind
Absolutely.
of the issue, right? So it's literally the only source of complaint is the fact that, hey, the people feel bad because they're losing rank, because they're losing a lot of games, which they really shouldn't feel bad for participating in the challenge. That's fun. And so yeah, I think Valve should have just disabled rank
That's the most
for the event.
that's probably the best solution I've heard, like considering there was no real alternative, right? Like it's not like we have, like we were saying earlier, a turbo mode where you can play this in. So disabling the ranked changes just for the 3 weeks or
Yeah.
something would have been actually a really great solution.
Yeah, just be like, hey, your MMR is not going to be affected in these next couple of weeks, so play whatever you want, and yeah, so that's really all there is for this event. Was like low effort, right?
Yeah.
They just threw something together because, well, they were hoping to have the big update out in December. They didn't have the big update out in December, but obviously they still wanted to do a little something for the holidays, so I'm assuming they just threw this together like pretty quickly, right? Like I don't think that this was like a super planned event. I mean, if you just compare it to last year's event, which had skins for every single hero that was made, like that's a lot more effort. Like, yeah, sure, the skins weren't like incredible, right? Like they were all pretty simple, but still, there was one skin for every single hero. Like that's a decent amount of effort. At least they had to model all those skins, they had to prepare them, they had to think about them,
Hmm.
they had to like conceptualize them. This year they were just like, just get a win on every hero. Oh, they also had all the challenges last year, right? Which was like, oh, get X amount
Hidden
of kills
challenges,
with X
yeah.
ability. Yeah, so this year was really just like, hey, sorry we didn't get the update in time. Here's a little holiday event so that you guys at least have a little something to do while we, like go on vacation for a little bit, and then we'll come back in January with the event. So, there's really not much to say to the people that are not having fun with it. It's unfortunate. If you're really not having fun, just take a break from Deadlock. I mean, and come back in January whenever we have the update.
I feel like the holiday event was always going to come out. Like I do, like in my history with Valve, like this type of stuff is pretty normal. Like they'll have teams
Yeah.
working on different parts. So I think like regardless of when the big update was going to come out, I think that they had an idea for a holiday event in the works for a while, and then like you
Mm.
said, once they realized like, hey, we're not getting the big update out, let's just finish up the holiday event and we'll just push the holiday event. So like I think like this is something that is just kind of what like Valve does. Like holiday events has just been a historical thing with them, and it's probably something they'll continue in Deadlock. For how long, into what scope, and stuff like that. Who knows? Like sometimes they if we ever end up getting a custom games type of setup, like Valve could build their own custom games as like an event for the holidays, like stuff like
Yeah.
that, which they've done previously. So like it's
Yeah.
possible we get larger scale stuff like that in the future, but I'm okay with this holiday event being a little bit smaller if it means that they're putting so much effort into this major update that got ended up getting delayed. But it just
Yeah.
makes me that much more kind of like excited for when it does launch, in a way. Like as weird as that is, it's like, okay, well,
Hmm.
slower or like lower holiday update, but this next update, it's gonna be sick. They cooked on it, hopefully.
Well, the pressure is there. You know, the
Yeah.
pressure is there in that sense. Like they have to deliver on this update. If this update is not good or like people don't like it, then it's gonna be because this update has been in the works for a while. I mean, the last major update that we got was I think August 18th or so. Like I don't know the exact date, but around there. So it's been over 4 months, which for most people is a long time. Like I said, the Valve people in general that have played Valve games know like, hey, they do things on their own schedule, so it's gonna take some time. But for most gamers that are coming from other games, like 4 months without a major update is a pretty long time by most game standards. Um, but I think you just got to give Valve time to cook. I'm very confident that they'll come up with something good.
Yeah.
And but I guess we'll see. I don't know exactly when the update is going to come. I mean, hopefully it comes earlier rather than later. Like early January would be great, but knowing Valve, it could very well be like mid or even late January. But I mean, I hope it's going to be earlier rather than later.
Yeah, we're all just sitting here, and January 31st comes around, it's like boom, there it is, updates out, finally, on time, let's go. No,
That would
yeah.
be like a classic Valve, but I don't think Deadlock Valve has been doing
Agreed.
that. Deadlock Valve has been pretty good, like about it. But like,
Agreed.
yeah, in other games they've done stuff like that pretty consistently, where they're like, yeah, we'll launch this thing in the first half of the year. First half of the year meaning literally like June
June.
30th.
Yeah, no, I agree. I tease because it's just fun. But yeah, I agree. I think the
Yeah.
Deadlock version of Valve has been pretty on point. So we'll see what they do.
Mhm.
We had some other Reddit complaints, but I'm curious if you want to just move on to the curiosity corner.
I think we can talk about the laning meta for a little bit.
Okay.
So basically, some people are complaining about the laning meta. Like I've seen some threads where people are like, um, laning doesn't matter or rotating is not punished enough, right? It's too easy to like gank or like,
Yeah.
3 mana lane, etc. Um, my main response to those comments, or what I would tell people, is like right now in laning, you are incentivized to play the game. Okay. So if your lane is not going okay, previously, if your lane was not going well, you didn't really have a play that was perfect because if your lane was going poorly and you went to another lane and you also griefed that lane, not only would you be griefing them, but you'd also be griefing them from a souls perspective, and you'd be losing out on souls yourself, right? So you'd be griefing them and yourself. Now, if your lane goes poorly and you go to another lane, even if it doesn't work out, you're only like doing a small amount of griefing. You're not doing it's still griefing, by the way. If you gank a lane and it doesn't work out, it's still really bad. Like I want to make that clear. It's not like ganks are free. There is a consequence. Like if you go in a 3v2 and you don't get anything done, they're getting more resources than you on the map. You're splitting souls 3 ways still, which means that lane is going to get less souls. Like you're still going to get souls, but yeah. So I personally like the current laning meta, so to speak, in the sense that I like the fact that you can move around and you can make decisions, and it's not as simple as just, hey, stay in your lane for 10 minutes and don't really consider any other factors and just stay here, farm your sinners, farm your lane, etc. Now it's like, hey, you can move around, you can try to make things happen. I think it's cool.
I actually agree. I think the more and more I've been playing with my team and like kind of practicing lanes, we have been kind of doing that exact same thing where it's like if we have one lane that's just getting bullied and blundering really bad, it's like just have one person that like the one hero who can be a playmaker just leave the lane and go do something else, whether
Yep.
it's like run a box route on your way over to a side lane or like to the mid lane and do whatever like to gank, but just sitting behind your guardian and farming for the first 10 minutes of the game was never an enjoyable experience. And I think anyone who like played losing lanes in the previous patch and you just sat there on your high ground just shooting creep waves for 10 minutes, like that's not very fun. um
Yep.
so I think, yeah, I think the flexibility of laning is there, and it's much better than it used to be. But there's also still a lot of skill expression in the lane, being like, okay, well, we can freeze the wave here, and this team that we've been bullying now has to come to our side of the bridge in order to get these souls, or they lose them, right? Like there are ways to punish lanes that are leaving a 2v1 type of thing, whereas
Yep.
previously it's like, oh well, it's Ivy that's solo in the lane, like Kudzu Bomb, clear wave. What are you gonna do? Like she's still just getting a lot of souls. So I think generally there are ways to maneuver the lane. We maybe just people aren't familiar enough with it now, and that's like just part of the learning curve that's going to come with these types of changes. But I think the
Mhm.
more and more that we have time on this kind of lane setup, I think the more people are going to like it. Personally, I think it's just going to be better and
Yeah.
better.
I mean, we'll see. There's certainly like things that could be looked at, but from my perspective, I don't really think it's an issue. At least not yet. Maybe if people like super optimize it, maybe we'll
Yeah.
start. It's always like it takes time, right? So this lane system hasn't been a thing for that long, maybe like a month or so at this point. With soul changes, etc. So I think that's we'll see kind of how it evolves. But for now, I don't think it's an issue, especially not for the average player. And in fact, even in competitive play, I mean, I quite enjoyed watching teams just run at each other,
Yeah.
like and just have like 3v3s at 3 minutes. Like I think that's fun. You've got a lot of stuff that's moving around the map, a lot of moving parts, a lot of opportunities to outplay your enemies, to read the movements of the map, etc. So I like it. Might not be for everyone, but personally, I think it's a good thing, and I don't think Valve should change it from the way it is right now, because I think that we're kind of like in that sweet spot at the moment. And also with the fact that solo kills and duo kills got buffed, that's
Yes.
also kind of a nerf to like the 3-man, right? Because like you're more rewarded for getting that solo kill or that duo kill than you are for getting the kill as 3 people.
Yeah, that's why I've been playing a lot of Drifter, man. That's fun right now. That one's good. You just run around the jungle, you
Yeah.
find a hero, curse them, and you get like 4,000 souls, and you're like, all right, bye. Uh,
We get a lot of souls, yes.
um, yeah, it's been fun. I do think, like you said, maybe if it gets fully optimized, then there'll be some changes down the line. But I want it to cook a little bit more. I want people to have more time on this before any like major changes. So hopefully that like big update that comes out doesn't change too much about the current lane setup. But we'll see. We don't really know. That's up for Valve to decide.
Hmm.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
if any of you out there, you've been a little like pessimistic about the lane setup, maybe that'll help. Maybe it'll give you something to work on and take it to your games. But
Maybe try being the one that moves from lane to lane.
yeah.
Maybe try being the one that initiates the movement rather than always being the one that gets ganked. One thing, I'll give you guys a little free coaching tip, which I talk a lot in my
Ooh.
coaching sessions. But, you know, if you sit in your own lane, okay, the moment that your lane is no longer productive, you should ideally try to do something else other than your lane. Because when your lane is no longer productive, like when you can't threaten to take the enemy tower or kill them, like if you're too far behind or like you don't have the capability of doing that, then there's only two possible scenarios. Okay, scenario one is the enemy team gets a gank in their favor and then you die. And scenario two is your team wins another lane and then you get a gank and then maybe you win, but you have no agency in either of those scenarios. You have no control over it, you have no impact over it. And I'm a big proponent of, okay, if you want to rank up, you need to like maximize the amount of agency you have over your games, and you need to like have impact. So you know, be the one to make a move if you can. And you can make a move as a lot of heroes. Like, you don't need to be like a Holiday or a Paradox. When I was spamming Infernus, like, I have no problem ganking as Infernus, like, 2 minutes into the game. Like, you can still make it work. Like, you don't need necessarily CC. Sometimes you're getting 200 extra damage if they don't expect it. That's all you need.
That's the thing I think that's very slept on, is the fact that a lot of heroes, like, just once you have your two spells, like the comboing on a lot of heroes in
Yeah,
terms of their spells is enough to secure almost any kill. You get like one hero that rotates into your lane just to either like catch them off guard, and then you can just collapse on them and yeah, easily find kills. I mean, rotating
yeah,
Infernus, not top of my list, but you can make it work for sure. You get that ignite flame dash, dude, easy.
for sure. Yeah, it's not really a huge issue, but I think we can kind of close it on that part and move into the last segment of the episode, which for those of you that haven't been followed, I mean, you can give a shout out to the person that suggested the idea, but we've named it the Curiosity Corner. I believe it was
Yeah.
Kaya Nono in the
Kaya
YouTube
no
comments. Is
no.
that?
Yeah, from the YouTube comments. So thank you. We asked last week what we wanted, or if people had ideas for, this type of segment. It was just called like the bad hero and item segment. 'Cause we're like, what should it be? We didn't really have a name for it. Kaya Nono came up with the Curiosity Corner, which is cool. I also want to give a secondary shout out to Suki Deluxe, who came up with the idea of character select. I thought that was kind of like a cool name, but I think we're going to stick with Curiosity Corner. So thank you for that one. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah.
Eventually,
Yep.
maybe we'll put a
And if you
graphic up
guys,
for that, but who knows?
yeah, exactly. We'll kind of work on it, like depending on how much kind of intros there is in the podcast in general. But like basically, the more intros there is, it's like anything in life. The more intros there is, the more work we'll kind of put into it, and so on and so forth. Um, and as far as so for those of you that aren't familiar with the segment, we basically discuss one hero and one item that we think are either problematic or like bad. And bad can mean a lot of things. It can mean like the hero just sucks. It can mean the design has some flaws. It can mean basically it's just a space to have a discussion about a hero and an item that we think something might be wrong with, right?
Yep.
And we do have the hero for this week is McGinnis, and the item is going to be Cultist. Um, I believe the hero was suggested by Kirby Anderson. Is that correct?
Yeah, Kirby Anderson. There were some numbers after there, but Kirby Anderson submitted the request for this hero, which I was actually one of the ones that was on my list already. So I was like, yeah, this seems like one we could talk about, one to touch on. Cultist was something that I
Yep.
think I like is just a complex item that I think a lot of people have feelings about,
Yep.
and so we're just that one wasn't necessarily submitted by anyone, but that was just something that we want to talk about as well. But let's start with McGinnis, man, because this is a hero that I
Yep.
feel like is polarizing. There
Yep.
are a couple different ways that she's played, but I think in terms of her play style overall, it can be a little tilting for players.
Yeah. McGinnis to me is like a Gen Zero hero. So there's like Gen One, Gen Two, and then there's McGinnis, who is like Gen Zero. I don't really love McGinnis's design. I think she
Oh,
has like basically two abilities. Her ult is not really an ability, so like it's kind of like terrible.
yeah.
And you have to channel it the whole time. If you get stunned, you get interrupted. It's like fairly like if they're vertical, you can't hit them at all. In fact, the hero just struggles with verticality a lot, which has limited her competitive viability and just her viability at a high level. Now, right now, the only reason the hero is good is because she has one ability that's extremely overtuned, which is her heal.
Yeah, the heal is insane.
But every other part of her kit is kind of whatever. Like the wall is pretty good situationally, but then once again, like things like warp stone, superior stamina, like stamina mastery, etc., allow you to kind of get around that. But not to downplay the wall, it has potential. The wall and her heal are basically her two abilities. Turrets and ult are kind of non-factors. I mean, turrets do have like you can make turrets somewhat viable. You can make them do a decent amount of damage, etc. But then again, they just get hard countered by so many different heroes and abilities. Like if you're playing against seven, and you have a cluster of turrets, like he will literally just throw his ball and they all die. Um, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, and that's with the heal being super overtuned.
Yeah,
Like
and
I don't
that's
know if
with
you
the
guys
heal on top
realize,
of it.
but like McGinnis heal late in the game, like not even that late, if you just itemize for it, has 100% uptime. It was 100% uptime. It has a gigantic radius once you like itemize for it. So if you get things like Arcane Surge and like even just Reach on it, it already have like a pretty big radius. And the radius and duration scale with Spirit. So as you get Spirit through the game, it just becomes like super, super big. And it gives fire rate to everyone. And then if you get Healing Tempo, you're giving extreme fire rate to everyone. And it lingers,
Yeah.
right? The linger change is really the thing that like put the McGinnis heal like over the top, other than a bunch of other factors. But that's really the main, like McGinnis's gun has always been good. from a DPS perspective.
Yeah,
But like I don't know, like she just has two abilities that are just like if turrets are ever good, like people are just not gonna want to play the game.
exactly. It's
But what do you do with this hero?
So I actually agree. I think I like the idea of turrets and Deadlock. Like that type of mechanic I agree I like. I think they need to be moved from McGinnis to a new hero. I legitimately feel like McGinnis could be reworked. I didn't. It wasn't like something I thought too much about her ult because it's like her ult is just like a farming mechanic at this point. Like you just clear ancient camps with them and that's it. Like 8 minutes comes around, you push the wave and you just go ult the ancient camp, and like that's what you do with her ult
Yeah,
nowadays, right? Like, which is not a it is what it is, but could there be a better ultimate for her? Probably. I do
yeah,
think the wall is pretty iconic to her, and so I like the idea of keeping the wall and the heal, but then like maybe reworking the ultimate or removing the turrets and placing a new ability there. That seems like more on brand for her. The problem is she's like the mechanic and the turrets are pretty like she's the engineer, right? She's so like the turrets are
yeah,
kind of like on brand for her. So I don't know how you fix
yeah,
that
yeah.
outside of like
I think you can. I think you can keep the turrets, but you can rework them. So right now the turrets are like they're meant to do damage,
yeah.
but if they ever do damage, they're like way too annoying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like people hate them. So they can't actually do a significant amount of damage. Right now, they can actually do a decent amount of damage if they're clustered and you have all the build and everything and you have heroic aura and all that stuff. But there's like such a specific set of circumstances that have to be matched. And so I think you should change the turrets from damage to like some sort of utility. Now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways to kind of have like utility, right? You could make it so the turrets give some sort of like um damage amp to McGinnis per hit on an enemy, right? Like that could be an idea. And like that could make her really good at sieging, for example, where if she can just plop down two turrets quickly on a walker and every hit of the turret gives her, I don't know, 1% damage amp, all of a sudden she gets 20 hits on the walker. She's at 20% damage amp. She just shreds that thing. She already shreds walkers. So, could be an idea. It could also be as an area control thing,
That's kind of
right?
what they
Where
are in
you
a
put
way
the turret
now.
down. They kind of are, but like at the same time, they don't really do a great job at it.
Yeah.
So if the turret could be like kind of like a ward where it just has like a longer duration, but it sees through walls in
Interesting.
area on the
So
mini map. Like I don't know, like I'm just throwing out ideas, but I don't really like the turrets being something that does damage.
So I was thinking when I was saying like remove the turrets, like but keeping up to in like kind of the realm of her being this engineer. My first thought was the idea of like side gunner from Gyrocopter, where he basically has like a turret that circles around him, and my thought was like she summons a like
Little
floating
drone.
turret like drone that follows around with her,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like duration based, but it applies these types of debuffs to like her targets. So I was like, this way it's not like a cheesy like throw down four turrets and no one can walk over to this area of the map unless like you said there's a seven, but it like does maybe enable her to be more of a utility hero, like if it only applies like debuffs. Like it would give her a little bit of flexibility, but then it's like, then you're also not like locked as playing McGinnis, like, oh, well, I just put my turrets over here, so this is where I need to play, type of thing.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was like kind of an idea I had. I was like, I don't know, like how they would balance it, because like it could very easily be too strong if she just has like an aimbot that follows her around, obviously. But you know,
yeah.
uh, it was just something that came to mind.
I think that the thing that's clear to me is turrets as a way of dealing damage is too obnoxious. And I mean, I think that the developers even agree anyway, because like Calico used to have turrets, but they removed that from her, and that was super obnoxious.
I love the Calico
And I
car
think people
wash.
just hate the idea of just yeah, the people just hate the idea of something just like some entity just auto aiming onto you and just like dealing a bunch of damage. It's just really annoying. It feels really frustrating to deal with. Um, and yeah, so I would move the turrets away from damage into utility of some kind, like the type of utility they can play around with it. It could apply debuffs. It could be a damage amp. It could be a ward. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of options. And the ult, I mean, I think that the ult just needs kind of like full rework. One thing that could be cool would be if the ult just like amped like structures near you, like something that's like you ult and then your walker just becomes like Giga Walker or something. I don't know. Like I like playing with the idea of like the way that I see it. I mean, McGinnis, I guess, has like a kind of tree and protector vibe in my mind,
Yeah.
where I feel like she should interact with structures as a kind of like a mechanic or something, right? I feel like it makes sense. Right now, she doesn't interact with structures at all. So I would love to see something like, the ult gives her. What if she could like climb inside the walker and control the walker and have like a specific subset of attacks or something? I don't know. Like that could be. I feel like you can go wild with it. Like that could be crazy.
Whatever ult is, she like is an engineer that summons a mini walker. Like, Viscous becomes a goo ball. Like, she becomes a miniature walker with a laser beam and fireballs. Like, and just starts running around like that. I mean, just
I don't know, like a transformer vibe. I mean, she
yeah,
climbs into her mech.
that's what.
I mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, her current ult, I think, is really boring and it's weird. And it's weird and it's weak. So
yeah,
something needs to be done with it. I do think that the heal needs to be nerfed, though. I know
hundred
people are gonna be
percent.
like, "Nerf McGinnis, what the hell?" The heal is just like super overtuned. Like McGinnis and Dynamo are kind of in these positions where
Yeah,
they
I
were
was
kind
gonna
of like
mention that one.
underwhelming for a while, and then like Yoshi is like, "Well, we'll buff this hero," and then they just buff one part of the kit over and over again until that part of the kit is just like insane. And then the other parts of the kit are still underwhelming. So Dynamo Stomp is kind of like in the same situation where the ability is crazy. And Dynamo, to be fair, as a whole, is actually pretty crazy. Like his kit is pretty good. He's just like not that easy to get value out of, especially Quantum Entanglement. Like requires like really good gameplay. But
Yeah,
as people get better at the game, like Dynamo will become more valuable for his Quantum Entanglement. But anyway, um, I see that the time is kind of running, so I think we can kind of end it for McGinnis there. There's a lots of ideas, but rework the turrets, rework the ult. Heal and wall are fine as abilities, and I think that they're core to the hero. But I think that those two other abilities are basically just like ignored, or they're terrible to build around. So,
all right. Well, let's move it on to the item then, which we said was going to be cultist. And
yep,
this is an item that we actually had some recommendations for in a previous patch where like the souls from it just shouldn't be reliable souls in any capacity. Like everything that you get out of it needs to be
yep,
unreliable. Like including the base bounty and the bonus bounty. But this is an
mhm,
item that I think frustrates people because they feel like there is no answer to it. When the enemy carry gets a cultist and they just sit back and farm and they keep eating creeps, and you're like, I beat this guy in lane, but now we're at 11 minutes in and he's higher souls than me because they have a cultist, and the item is a stat stick on top of being a farming item. So like, you, as the game goes on, the
yeah,
boon scaling for it becomes a, you don't use it for souls anymore. You use it to, all right, we're about to fight. I'm going to go use cultist and get like this massive buff for the duration of whatever fight we're about to take, and that's when, the question of, is the item balanced or not, like designed in a way that makes it too versatile?
yeah. I mean, my main problem with the item in general, and it kind of applies to Trophy Collector in some sense, is like when we had a small amount of time where Trophy Collector was meta, is soul generation items are very tricky to balance because generating souls, especially in Deadlock, is so powerful because souls also give you boons and they're tied to your overall power as a hero. So it's not just like you're getting money, you're also getting, the equivalent of levels, which give you everything in this game. It gives you spirit, it gives you health, it gives you weapon damage, right? So it gives you all of these things. So the thing about cultists is that monster rounds is just an incredible item in the first
Yes.
place, right? So the component of cultist is like, I don't even really see it as a cost. So when I think of cultist for balance purposes or in a build, I'm like, okay, the cost of cultist is 2,400 souls. That's really the cost because monster rounds you can use on almost any hero on almost any build.
Yeah.
It's almost always good. Like you're never wasting souls going monster rounds. It gives you wave pressure. It allows you to push buildings. It allows you to dive more easily in lane as well, right? Even after you parry the tower, when it hurts you, you get resistance. So you're not only getting damage, you're getting resistance against jungle, against towers, etc. So okay, cost is 2,400. If you use cultist at 8 minutes, the moment the tier 3 camp spawns, you get about 800 souls. Okay, so that's the base bounty and the bonus bounty. So all of a sudden, okay, cost of 2,400. Boom, you just spent 1,600 on the item, essentially, right? Because you got 800 souls. So the way that I see it is, okay, you spent 1,600 on the item, but the item gives you the stats, which nowadays the stats are actually not very good. Like they've
Yes.
nerfed the stats so many times that they're like, if you compare like the cost per soul, like if you view cultist as a 3,200 soul item, it actually sucks. um, from the stats perspective, because there's so many items that just like give you that are way cheaper that give you better stats. Like the weapon damage it gives you is basically like not even close quarters at first, and the health that it gives you is like not even half of extra health. It's like rebuttal levels of health, and rebuttal is just like way better. But the way that the shop investment works, it also gives you weapon investment. So you're getting a decent amount of weapon damage from that too. So when you combine all of those factors and the fact that, hey, okay, it only really costs you 1,600 because monster rounds is always good, and then you're getting 800 the moment you buy it, and those 800 souls that you obtain the moment you buy it, you would not have been able to obtain otherwise. Like if I'm playing Lash and I buy Cultist, I'm not gonna be able to farm the tier 3 camp. Like I can't. Like the only way that I get access to those souls is by buying Cultist. And if I use it 3 times on tier 3 camps, the item will have mostly paid for itself. Now, if you look at in the graphs in game, you can look souls by source, and it'll show you the Cultist souls, but it only shows you the bonus souls.
Yes.
So it lies to you.
Yeah. I was going to mention that as well, because that's some people look at their post game stats like, oh, the Cultist didn't actually give me that many souls, and yeah, it's only the bonus amount. So that's a misconception for sure.
Yeah, so it is lying to you. Like it's actually more than that, significantly more than the bonus amount that you're getting. The item pays for itself basically every game. Like the item always pays for itself, and it spikes you to your next item, right? It's an item that you buy. Sure, you'll spend 2,400 souls on it. Boom, you get it. But the moment you get it, it'll help you get to your next item even faster, right? So it doesn't really feel bad. So Cultist to me, I mean, it needs to be looked at in some way because, like, from a stats perspective, like, they can keep nerfing the stats. I mean, that's probably the way to go. Like, you probably just want it to be just, like, a soul generation item at some point if you're going to have it, so that, people don't feel like they're getting all these things. Because, like, the fact that it has ability, range, and health as well just makes it kind of a no-brainer on a lot of spirit heroes. Because it's like, hey, I'm going to get richer doing this. It gives me monster rounds. It gives me my weapon investment. And on top of that, I'm getting ability, range, and health. Why not?
Deal. Yeah,
That's kind of my problem.
Yeah, it checks a lot of boxes for a lot of heroes in that having that much flexibility in a single item is a little bit too much. Plus, from what I remember, it's still affected by comeback gold mechanics, right? So, like, if your team is behind and you cultist, you get more value out of your cultist. So,
I haven't tested that in a while, so I don't actually remember. So I'm not gonna say yes or no because I don't like maybe.
Okay,
I can't remember.
I
need
don't
to test it again.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it in patch notes, but it could have been patched out. But I know for a while you could get like 1,000 souls off your first cultist, which was insane. Like if your team was behind. So that's just those types of things like need to be balanced out a little bit. But I agree, cultist. There's a lot that can be done. I'm curious what you guys have to what you all feel about it. So if you guys have made it this far into the episode and you're like, you know what, this item or this hero really irks me, leave a comment. Let us know what items and heroes you guys want us to look at, and we will put them in the next Curiosity Corner segment. So let us know what you think about those, of course, because we appreciate it. And let us know what you think about the name and the format. I think it's cool. Shout out to Kaya Nono.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. Now we're gonna have, for those of you that are familiar, we're gonna have our episode next week as well. So there's gonna be one more episode during the holiday season. I hope you guys have a great holiday season. Make sure to spend time with your loved ones, your family, etc. And yeah, be cozy and all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll be back next week to discuss other things. I don't think we've exactly decided what we're going to discuss next week, but if you guys have any ideas, obviously put them in the comments. There's kind of the regular, sections that we do, but there's always going to be kind of like a weekly topic, so to speak.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for your support. It's been great. I mean, I didn't know how much demand there was for a podcast or not. I was kind of hesitant to do it in the first place, but there's been a lot of support, so that's been really cool.
Yeah, seems I was worried about that initially too. It's like, maybe Deadlock just doesn't have like the community interest for a podcast, but so far reception's been nice. So thank you to everyone who's been listening, and if you guys are new listeners, welcome to the Bear Pit. Consider subscribing to us, here on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever platform you like. We're pushing the podcast out to as many platforms as possible. So if there's one you're not seeing it on, because I keep getting messages for these, let us know. Just type me in the comments and I will find a way to get it there. I promise. So yeah, that's about it. That'll wrap up episode 3. And hopefully, we'll see you all next week for episode number 4. Bye-bye.